Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Wonderful comments so far. Really appreciate everything that's been done for to help us worship, to facilitate our worship. I want to reiterate Aaron's comments that everybody here is part of the Jamaica work, and it's been amazing. You know, we got into this a while back, I guess back in 2000, and there was no hesitation at all from those that were here, and they're like, yeah, let's just support it. And through thick and thin, as economies have gone up and economies have gone down, there's always been a way, and the people of Middleburg have always been at the center of that. And I just want to really take a moment and voice my appreciation. I may get lost in the report and forget to say thank you, but thank you so much. We feel you with us in so many ways when we're there doing that work, and we only suffer very little. Just to be honest, it's just a small piece of the year that I get to go over there and do that, and it's not that difficult. It's something that's a labor of love, something that's wonderful. So I know the term suffering was used earlier, and we suffer in the work a little bit, but it's not that much. And I just really appreciate everybody's help to do that and make that an annual thing for us. Just in case you don't know where Jamaica is, got a map up there. It's down in the Caribbean, the West Indies. We leave out of the Orlando area and fly down there every year and wind up in Montego Bay, Jamaica. We tend to work in several different areas on the island. That's Mo Bay there. You see the little pin drop. That's Grange Hill, and the red pins are where we didn't get to go this year. Green pin there in Savannah Lamar, and a green pin there in Alligator Pond. And do a lot of driving on the island. I appreciate some of the comments that Andrew made last week about driving. I wish there was a way that we could capture it and bring it home so you'd understand it. But it's just, until you've seen it, it's hard to really bring that home. If I've got the numbers right, the population of Jamaica is about 2.8 million. The area is about 4,000 square miles. Sorry, Maxwell, none of this is in metric. It's all in standard U.S. units. And if I've got my mind right, that's somewhere around the state of like Connecticut and Rhode Island, I think, put together roughly. Just to give you an idea, it's a large island for the Caribbean, but it's not a big giant place. And one of the neatest things there is that out of those 2.8 million people, I think all of them are willing to sit down and have a discussion about God with you. Doesn't mean that everybody's doing what they should be, but they're willing to discuss it. And that is truly a unique thing about the Jamaican people, is that talking about God's not a taboo. At least it doesn't seem to be in my experience. It's a conversation they're willing to entertain. So getting started, this is the verse that I think has been mentioned already. Go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. That's the goal with what we're doing. I've showed this picture just about every year. There's some faces in there that look a lot younger there, and obviously a lot older now. Less hair on some of us. But that's where we began. You see David and Flora back there in the background. And there's a picture from last year. David and Flora's last visit, in theory, to Jamaica, and the last time they were with Maxwell. And those three people you see there, David, Flora, and Maxwell, have been pivotal to the success of this ongoing endeavor there on the island. So no David and Flora this year. It's the first year that it was just on us, but fortunately we had Maxwell. I can always count on things being ready, things being in order when we get there, and that's a great comfort, because you're going to a foreign country and you wonder if everything's going to work out, and Maxwell's a huge part of making that work. If you were watching the news this year, you know that the planning had to stay flexible. We always have a plan A and a B and a C, but this year I think we worked all the way down to maybe E or F somewhere, because there was a hurricane that came in, obviously changed some of our plans, decimated certain areas, other areas just blew things around a lot, and knocked out power to a lot of the island. So that affected our ability to work in Grange Hill. The congregation there in Grange Hill basically said, look, we don't have power, we don't have water, and we think it's going to be a real challenge to our people, to even get out of their houses and get to you. So we elected this year not to have a VBS and Bible classes in Grange Hill. So that took us down to 1 week. So I had to throw this, this picture in here. Maxwell's the master at luggage Tetris. Every year we get there and we're all worn out, and he gets all the luggage in the van, and we go. So this year, instead of doing relief work, instead of doing VBS work and teaching work the very first week, we shortened the first week a little bit, and we did some relief work. We have a sister there. I think many of you probably recognize the name Jody. She's somebody that we've all prayed about and thought about for a little while. But she suffered some significant damage to her house. We'll see if these videos will play. And this is just looking up from her bathroom through an unplanned skylight where a tree came down on her house and knocked the back of it off. There's a shot of the tree coming through there. And so we set about to try to get this tree off of her house, and we hoped that we could ourselves move the tree and get the roof back on, which we were successful, but we ended up taking about 2 days to move the tree. And I just rolled through some of these shots. All we had was hand tools. We took rope and hand saws and a hatchet, and we went to town on that thing. Stared at it. You could see somebody captured this picture of everybody like, whoa, and they're like, so what did you bring, Burt? And I'm like, yeah, I brought a handsaw. And so we made some plans, drew some pictures, and went after it. Really did some things that probably, if we were doing it in the States, you moms out there would be like, my son shouldn't be doing that. That's dangerous, But the end result was that we got that thing off of the tree. Interesting picture here. Addison was the only one of my workers that knew how to tie this knot that I taught her when she was like 7 or something. So she's up there showing them how to tie a knot that won't slip. Wade's learning. I think Wade knows it now. And so we pulled and we cut and we pushed and we got that thing, carried out of there and stacked up. Everybody was helping. And there is the tree. We stacked it up on the side of the road, and then the Jamaican government eventually, in the 3 or 4 days later, came and loaded that thing in a dump truck and hauled it off. So there's a lot of cleanup going on, and it was good to be a part of it. Got some building materials there, and then eventually we didn't have time to put the roof on, but Jody had a local contact that was able to get it put back together. And you can kind of see Jody smiling here. She's just kind of saying like, where did the tree go? This is wonderful. She was so excited. And it was a huge load off of her shoulders to not be worried about the rain and the wind and everything coming in on her family. A single mom taking care of her 5 kids, and just was really a blessing that everybody here made possible. And we had a lot of individual donations that came to me, and people said, I know about Jody's situation, I want to help. And you guys made that happen, and we're glad that we got to be a part of it. There's a good shot of Jody and her family. So one of the things that we do when we get there is we get on the ball with inviting. The great thing about Maxwell is Maxwell always has the word out there. He's made the announcements. He's gotten it out. But we try to get out into the local neighborhoods, and this is a banner that Maxwell has in the building. We went and updated the dates on it. I don't have good handwriting, so I hired my best scribe. And then we get out in the neighborhoods and we start, going where we can go and walking around and handing out flyers and saying, hey, we've got this VBS going on. So it's a good experience for some of the young people that haven't done that before, just to get out and to invite people, and kind of like what we talked about in the adult class, to recognize that, and what our song just said, people need the Lord. We need to take that information out there. There are people that are dead in sin and don't know it. And just getting the ball rolling is an important part of all of us for becoming evangelistic. You have to start somewhere, and once you get a taste for it, you start to realize it's something you can do, something you can do anywhere. And it sounds terrible, but you're looking for children, so we look for clotheslines that have children's clothes on the line, and then we go hand out flyers there and try to get the word out. And we went down in some places that I've never been before. Honestly, they made their way around. Fortunately, they came back. Then VBS, we brought a heavy hitter with her this year, and he seemed to have kids on him all the time, dragging them around. Had to put a shot of Quinton in there. But it's a lot of the same things that you would see here. We gather the kids together. We have a big sing. Of course, they have 10,000 songs that I've heard, and I think another 100,000 songs that I haven't heard yet. Because every year there's a new chorus, a new song, something that we sing with them. We had Bible classes. You see Addison and Andrew Buttrey that you may remember that we supported last year. This year, after seeing what he did, his congregation was willing to support him. So again, something else good that everybody here helped to get rolling. He's an asset to the work. You see Harrison and some others teaching classes, and Crystal and Addison teaching class. And just really, a chance to get hold of these minds and start to get some great Bible lessons in early. We did teach them to obey. That was a big part of the thing that we were trying to accomplish. You can see Andrew Eskut looking over like, "What are you doing interrupting my class right now?" And it's like we gotta have pictures of you teaching, man. So Andrew did the high school class. We were part of the issue with the hurricane is that things didn't go smoothly, and we had, and it wasn't all hurricane, but we had 5 cancellations this year, and I don't think we've ever had any more than one. We've had occasionally somebody gets sick, something happens, but through injury and flight issues and a cyber attack, there was a lot of weird stuff going on in the lead up, and while we were over there were actually 5 that couldn't come, so we had to thin our team out a little bit and reallocate resources, and so I ended up teaching the adult class, the adult men's class that is, and Andrew ended up taking care of the high school class on the fly. Like, "You doing this?" "Yep, I'm ready. Send me." I had to show this one because we do want them to know where their head, shoulders, knees, and toes are, just like here. I can't seem to get it. I wanted to get to the end where we're really flying, but I'm not going to make you watch a 2-minute video. Worshiping and teaching in Jamaica. This is the church building there in Montego Bay. And for some of you that have been associated with the work for a while, there was a long time when they met in a YWCA. And it was an outdoor garage basically. And through generosity and support of brethren and hard work of everybody involved, they now have a building to meet in. And I can't remember exactly how many years it's been. I don't know if it's 5, 7, 10, somewhere in that range that now they have a building. And here's a shot from the outside, and it's wonderful to have a place of their own to worship. And because me and Andrew were the men that were there, they had to listen to us preach all the time. So we preached about every other day during the evening sessions. All the boys helped out with leading songs and prayers. As Harrison, some ball guy. Wade was a part of that too. Lucas led singing. So one of the things that kind of washed over me as we were there was how fortunate that we just went through this preparation class here at Middleburg to get our young men ready to serve, and then the Jamaica work comes around and those young men wind up there and they're all called upon to serve because there's just not a lot of us to do it. So we got to put it in practice right away. So thanks to all those that have contributed to that effort. All right, things you see. That's things you see, and I always like to have just some stuff that is kind of unique that we see there to bring back home, because obviously you don't get to run around with us and get eyes on everything. Beautiful scenery. I mean, the scenery there is just always amazing. Green vegetation, blue water. This was a shot from the airplane. Beautiful sunrises, beautiful sunsets. There's all this beauty going on that is just breathtaking in so many ways. $20 at a gumball machine. You don't see that in the States, but the exchange rate is about 150 or so to $1 US. So I had to get a picture of the $20 gun machine. Andrew Eskut looking fly in some glasses. You don't always get to see that here in the States. One of my jokes that I refuse to step away from is that we stayed inside of a gated community like we do, and really that's an enhanced security zone. So there's checkpoints that you go through that in an effort to try to drive down some of the gang activity that's happened there. And it's just one of the things that hits you immediately, I think probably hits the newcomers, is this isn't the same as being home. I have to think and behave differently. I have to be careful. I have to pay attention in a different way. And it brings an appreciation for what the Jamaican people deal with every day. Had to catch, we drove by this guy every day, soup and peanut porridge vendor. I love, there's just street food everywhere. There's such ingenuity, people that have acquired what they needed to cook and prepare and have a little business in so many different places. And I didn't get to stop and try out soup and peanut porridge, but I've certainly tried out a lot of the street food, and it's neat part of it. Every once in a while you see a big guy tear a coconut in half. That's staged, of course. Some giant trees here that are down, and you've probably heard us talk about Bamboo Avenue before. It looks like it's probably 500-year-old bamboo growth. I mean, it's amazing. And 60 feet tall, and clumps that are easily 40 feet, from the road to the backside of them. It just completely makes a tunnel around the road. And some of those huge bamboo plants were just thrown over by the windstorm that came through there. If you've ever tried to get bamboo out of your yard, it gives you kind of a picture of what the winds must have been like in that area. We did see quite a few Jamaican linemen, and that was a good thing, because that means power is starting to get restored back out. We ran over a lot of power lines and a lot of phone lines, communication lines that were down. So some of the places that just didn't have power or water, some of the places we visited, they've been drinking out of their cistern or their rain barrel, and they've been living on candles during the nighttime to try to get by. So that was, I think, the majority of the island is probably that way. My perception is that the government areas, centers of government and the centers of tourism got power back up first, and then everybody else was waiting on it. But we did see a fair amount of line work going on. We learned a little bit about the lineman dance. Apparently, when you take a picture of a lineman, they do a little dance for you. So it's not a great picture, but that guy was happy to participate. Harrison learned about the T-shirt pillowcase. When you forget a pillowcase. I don't know if you can see this or not. This is a camouflage goat, and we talk about Jude every year. Jude is doing well. He's continuing to kind of have farming at home, and he's looking to move from the coconut business to the fishing business, because the coconut business is just too much wear and tear on his body. He's climbing trees and hauling hundreds of pounds of coconuts around, and he's suffering a little bit. So he's trying to make a transition there. There may be some opportunities to help him with that. He's built a boat and trying to get that going, but I've never seen a camouflage goat before. This is one of Jude's goats, and I was just amazed. Some of the locals here and some kids that are trying to act like locals, they'd asked me before we went, can we get our hair braided? And I said, not until the last day. I said, because the perception that people have of you is going to change when you get your hair braided. So we have to get through all the work, and then the very last day when we're through with everything, you can get your hair braided. So this lady's a local street vendor, and she's in there. I think they call that local garb bandana, if I'm not mistaken. And she's just kind of representing a little piece of the culture there in Montego Bay. Geckos, we're starting to have those in Florida, so I don't know if they're coming home with us or not, but I'm starting to see them around my house. This is just one of the cool little things there. See a lot of tired people on the trip. This van is full of people, but you can't tell because everybody has keeled over onto their friend next to them, and we kind of looked back there and realized there was one person awake. Something you don't get to see very often in the States, at least I don't, is Wade being quiet and sitting still and asleep. And then this is gold here. Andrew, we had no idea what an efficient sleeper he was, but Andrew was a great worker, but in between working, there was sleep. And you see somebody trying to keep his head from hitting the wall there. But I mean, he's very, very efficient at going to sleep, we noticed. Most important thing that we see there is brethren and friends, and I don't know how else to bring back a piece of that without just bringing some pictures back. So just so many wonderful faces, so many wonderful souls, people that are actually experiencing a real difference. Some of them don't have fathers that are active in their life, some of them do, and we get to go there for just a little while and breathe some life and give them some truth, and hopefully help to guide them down that path where they will continue to pursue God as they grow up. And a lot of these faces you're seeing, and this is our little Jude's daughter, little hairdresser. A lot of these faces you're seeing are kids that have been coming year after year. kids that have grown. This is somebody who's been with us for as long as I've been going and is an adult now, and they are having a better chance at serving God. They're more faithful than they would have been if it weren't for all the efforts that have been put in. So it's a wonderful thing to be a part of, and everything I hear is just appreciation from them. A shot of me and Maxwell trying to think hard. We always end up in some critical thinking mode at some point. This is Jesse. I'll mention him in a minute, but Jesse is one of our good friends there. He's Maxwell's son-in-law, an amazing pillar in the church there, and he's a great guy. We also get to have a little soccer rivalry with Jesse, so I tend to provoke Jesse just a little bit in the soccer arena, and we beat him again this year when we got a little time to play, and so he took it out on Harrison, But he's an awesome guy, and I think even probably as we speak, or right around now, he's at the Mobay Church teaching a Bible class and helping with the preaching in Maxwell's absence. So he's been a blessing. I know that it's coming to Maxwell's life, and he's been a blessing in our life too. It's just one of those relationships I look forward to carrying right on into heaven and seeing him there. Here's Jody. She sat down outside. I noticed she was by herself, and I said, Jody, I sat down next to her, said, what's going on? And she said, again, context here, single mom, trying to get things the right way for her kids. And she said, some of the folks have just told me how great my kids are, and that I'm doing it, and that these kids are faithful, and that they're a great proof of the fact that she's been putting so much effort. And she was just almost in tears, and so like I always do, I come up and act like a numbskull and make people not, it's like, stop crying, we have to laugh about this. But I just said, Jody, and I said, you're sending these arrows out into your culture, into your neighborhood, and yeah, it was a hard road for you, it was difficult, but you've stuck in there and you've lived faithfully, and now people see that in your children. I said, it's not just us, not just these visitors. But I guarantee you, where they go to school and when they go to work and all those places they visit, people see that they're different. And it just, it's kind of a moment there with Jody. Just some of the beautiful faces that we get to work with. And then sometimes everything we do is embarrassing. Taking pictures is embarrassing sometimes. And some Venetia here that we've talked about her quite a few times over the years. This is MJ. I did want to take a moment and talk about the relief work we got to do in MJ. MJ is Jody's son, and MJ just, he doesn't have a lot of male influence in his life other than the guys at church. And it was really great, something I don't think I necessarily envisioned ahead of time, but as we're cutting limbs and moving things, here's MJ. He's there. And, he's got a saw and he's cutting stuff and he's loading up limbs, he's hauling them out. And it was just cool. And so I kind of gave him an assignment. Yeah, I noticed he had taken a liking to one of my saws, and I'm like, all right, we got to go because we have to get dinner and get across the island. I'm like, but if you have time tonight, cut some limbs. If you have time tomorrow before we get here, cut some limbs. And we came back and he had cut some limbs. I mean, he cut all kinds of stuff off. And one of the cuts, Crystal was like, how long did that take you? And he says, 1 hour. so he was cutting on a single log there for an hour. So I gave that saw to MJ. MJ now owns his own saw. And but just the male mentoring, the chance to give that to another person who's very close to becoming a Christian. I think MJ is right there. He's thinking about it, and we talked a little bit about it. I know Maxwell's talked to him. Several others on the trip talked to him about it. Him and his sister are twins, and twins always feel this sense of we have to do everything together. So we tried to tell him when any one of you is ready, that one needs to go ahead and decide to become a Christian. So probably won't be long for MJ. And then new friendships. People that have never met before have this bond over Christ, and it's a neat thing. This is a shot from we used to say Marlon's house. Those of us that have been going for a while still say Marlon's house. His name is Marlon. He's the quadriplegic gentleman that passed away years ago, but his parents live there now. We go visit them. They're Christians, and they're out in the middle of nowhere, and there's not a lot of spiritual encouragement for them, so we try to make sure we see them each year. And this is some shots from Jude's house, getting to play with the kids. getting to get told what to do by the kids. All right, here we go. So this is Maxwell's family. As many of you know, Maxwell's with us today. Hopefully you've got a chance to meet him. If not, there should be some time. This is his wife, Renee. And I think when we see that name, we pronounce it a little bit different. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knows it's Renee. Then you see Jesse, you see Sash, short for Sashana, Jason. So Sash and Jason are Maxwell and Renee's children. And then Ariana is Jesse and Sasha's daughter. And this is a family picture from last year. It's so hard to get these pictures because everybody's just so busy moving. And this is one from last year. But I do want to take this moment to introduce Maxwell and welcome him to the stage. Maxwell is going to come up here and give you his perspective on the work. I wish we could have said, hey, Maxwell, take 30, 45 minutes, but we tried to keep it down to something that fits in our normal time. So Maxwell, if you will, come up and share your thoughts with us.
Let me just at this stage want to greet each and every one in the wonderful name of our Lord. I have to borrow, based on all that I'm hearing and seeing, a passage from Philippians chapter 1. And I'm going to be reading 3 verses. Philippians chapter 1 verse 3, I thank my God upon every remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine for you, all making requests with joy, for your fellowship in the gospel from the first day until now. I want to thank each and every one of you for supporting our work in Jamaica. I don't know where to begin, but all I can say is you're an integral part of all of us. And I really want to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude for supporting the group that come year after year. Burt and all those who you have supported. And I want you to know and to understand that you have been a shining example of the church in our community. For your effort, for the things you have done, for the unwavering support, because they couldn't come unless you support them all coming. And it is for the spreading of the gospel, going out into all the world and to preach the gospel. And I have seen over the years things that have been done, labor of love, working with groups, helping, caring, and going to utmost ends to bring the good news to the lost. I would want you to understand and to know that Jamaica is a very religious country. But not everyone really accepts truth. They are more religious in the way they behave with regards to the scriptures. And they're more of the instrumental, what I would want to say, religious more than spiritual churches on our island. A lot of churches, but they are more religious. They do things, but not according to the way God would have us to do them. And so people, they would claim they love the Lord, but not being obedient totally to the word. They're more they're more willing to study but not willing to accept based on the upcoming of those individuals. We still have a small congregation in Montego Bay, and we could be doing much better, but it's very difficult. The work there is not easy. But sharing the good news, I'm committed to the cause. I have many challenges in Jamaica, many challenges that we face. Secular work, spiritual work. I wish I could work full-time with the church, but that is not possible. But I'm committed. And of course, in order to do all that we have to do as men, teach, preach, study, at work, at home, in the street, and at the same time I have to be involved in my, what I would refer to as secular job, to earn an additional income so I can support my family and overall so many of us, the church, with needs. We love you all, and I want you to know that what you're doing for individual is more than you can imagine or think. You're doing more for people in Jamaica than you know that you're doing. Your support in cash, in kind, in prayers, we appreciate that. So VBS 2024 was really a challenge, but we made it. It could have been better, but we go through the rough times, the roughage of it. And I tell you something, when I see the young men goes to work, and I know you should ask them, they are worn out. I'm sure based on just coming, they have no easy time. It's not a vacation for them. And if you were to test each and every one of them, they work very hard coming down there. But I think they love it, they enjoy it, and sometimes we want more to come. Okay, but it's not fun when you come to Jamaica, traveling across to the villages, to the people, visit, work, help to put everything together. It is always a good call and a good cause for Christ. We thank the Middlesbrough Church for all that you do. Appreciate the elders, appreciate the leadership here, as well as each and every brother and sister. We still have a small group. We have lost over the years some of our strong men from the church. We've lost one of our preachers. Most recent year, I think it was last year, Dwight Thomas. He was like, when we lost Dwight Thomas, he died. You know, my heart went all the way down. He says, gosh, he was one of our Bible class teachers. He would have been there. You know, a great help with the work, because he was always there for us. And then we lost another brother, one of our great song leader, Andre Johnson. Again, my heart sank. But we always have other men who would pitch into that position. So we've been losing maybe about 6 persons died over a short period of time, some of the men. But God knows all things best. We just have to understand that God knows why. And then evangelism and the preaching of the word, the spreading of the gospel, reaching the lost is a challenge also, but it's something that must be done. We are doing our best. Could do better, but we're doing our best. thanks to Burt. He's going to be in the forefront of the Jamaica work, VBS each year, and we appreciate you, my brother, more than you would know. We love you all more than you know. And I bring you greetings as well from our congregation in Jamaica. I told them I was coming here. They said, say hi to everybody. Wish I could do a video like Burt to just hear from each individual, but it was sharp. It was later planned while I was almost here in the States. And they says, oh, say hello first. I wish I had them on video to put them up to just each individual say, hi, Middlesbrough, hi, Middlesbrough, we love. But all of that would have been pretty good, and it would have meant much more than my just telling you. Again, I want to thank you. Thank you for bringing me over here now from the other part of Florida. It was good coming down. It rained maybe pretty 2 hours on the road, but it was pretty interesting to get here. I wish I could do this at least once a year or so, whenever I come, just to be with you. Brethren all over the States want me to come just the same, but it's not possible. So may God bless you and continue to bless you abundantly, and may your love and kindness continue to be a reflection of God's grace and mercy. Thanks again for being an integral part of my life. Thanks again for your financial support and your prayers. May God bless you. May God bless you. Thank you for your time.
Now, I didn't say it, but it's been 17 years since Maxwell has been here last, and I'll just give you guys an opportunity to wave if you want to, like, wave to the Jamaicans back there and say hello. All right, thank you very much, Maxwell. At this time, we are now going to hear Harrison's thoughts on the work in Jamaica.
Good morning. Good morning. So I'm going to talk about 3 main points. I'm going to talk about just our vacation Bible school, our evening services, and our trip to the mountains. So we started off, obviously, clearing that tree. That was a lot of hard work, but it was a lot of like coming together and I guess battling through all of the tough parts and stuff like that. And we still had to muster up strength to go to VBS and get it all ready. So the thing about VBS is there's a lot of kids who either don't have great access to either spiritual leaders or just a way to be around people like us and like Mr. Maxwell. I know he picks up a lot of the people that go to their church. But I was in the middle school class, and every single time that you'd say something, there'd be like all of people would have their hands up for answering their questions, and they were all so eager to learn and so ready to just learn more about God's work. And they had great participation, and everybody was just overjoyed to see us, and we're also overjoyed to see them. And for the evening services, it was the same way. The kids would show up, they'd say hey, we'd play games with them, we'd hang out, and then we'd have class, and it would either be Andrew or my dad that was preaching. And I think that we all made it through rotation on prayers, and most of us did song leading. And I think that gave me a sense of leadership that I learned from that. I'm a bit timid to do certain aspects of worship here, but in Jamaica it was like there's no other option, so I had to step up. And that's just an interesting aspect to learn, and I hope that can carry over here some. And for our trip to the mountains, it really showed me like spiritual dedication, because they do live in the middle of nowhere. Like they have very limited access to other Christians and other people to meet and to come and congregate with. And us showing up there with little advance, like of them knowing us to go, it was just so powerful that they were so ready to take us in, so ready to have Bible studies and sing and pray. And I just hope that we can have that sort of dedication. And back to the tree and to the people in the Jody's families. Their whole family is just, they're great people. They accept and they love the Lord. And while they don't have a dad present, they're all doing very excellent. And every single time we go, we just try to do our best to show them anything that they might be either confused about or lacking because of their situation. But yeah, that's mostly what I have. I'm gonna go ahead and end my talk because I was keeping it brief. But I just wanted to say thank you for us to enable us to do our work in Jamaica, and it wouldn't be possible without all of you guys. So thank you.
All right, we'll have Lucas up to deliver his thoughts.
Good morning. I want to start by thanking everyone. We really don't think of, while we're there, we don't think about, at least I didn't really take a minute to appreciate everyone's contribution. There was 7 of us that came from here, but everyone was there. Everyone was part of that work. And so I just want to share a few of my favorite things that we did this week. So my favorite part overall was VBS, and specifically the singing part at the beginning. We sung for about 20 to 30 minutes at the beginning of VBS. And like we saw in the video, we did head, shoulders, knees, and toes. I mean, we were out of breath the entire time. And just the first day, it was about half the kids. We knew some of them, they were into it. And then by the end of the week, we had everyone on their feet, and it was so loud. And it was really uplifting to see all those kids. They really wanted to know about God. They wanted to learn. We had our Bible studies. We had a Bible study every night at our Airbnb where we were staying. And in Jamaica, the houses are made out of concrete, and so it's very echoey in there. And we would sing a lot of hymns in some of the rooms. They're very, very echoey, and so it was really cool to hear 15 or 20 people sound like a congregation of 200. So another thing that I was in the high school class and at VBS for most of the week. The first day I was kind of just going around seeing what I could do. But the first day in the high school class, Eskut and Wade can vouch for me here, but there really weren't a lot of people that were answering. And then the second day we got a bag of candy and everyone started answering. So that was cool to see. They the high schoolers, they wanted to learn, but they were kind of more timid than the rest of the kids. Something I learned in Jamaica is Jamaicans don't worry about what they're gonna have maybe later in the day, later in life. They're kind of they focus on the here and now, which made me think of a verse in Matthew chapter 6, verse 25. It reads, "Therefore I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing?" So we had on the very last day of our trip, we had people over to hang out and have a good time. We got pizza, but they didn't ask, what are we eating? When are we eating? Where are we going to go? We took people out. We took Jody's family out to eat a lot. And they didn't ask to eat. They didn't ask where are we going. And that really hit me hard. I was like, where are we going to go? How much can I spend? What are the options to eat? And they just didn't ask those things, which made me think I need to come home and I just need to be grateful that I have food on the table every day. I need to be grateful that I have clothes on my back and I get to go and I can pick some of the clothes that I get to wear. I can go shopping at the store that's 5 minutes down the road. So I wanted to leave you with that verse, Matthew 6:25. I think Wade is going to come up and say his part.
So I'd like to start out and just thank everyone for supporting the Jamaica trip. And just being here, like the years before, I never really thought about what it was, what we were supporting. And going there, I realized that we're just helping all the people that are there, like, live their lives, and just we're getting to go help them, and they're still putting God first and just having a good time. And I just want to thank everyone for supporting us on that trip. And I'd like to start out with what my favorite part was, and I'd say it was probably the bus rides, going to all the places, because while we were in the bus, we were just hanging out, having a good time, getting ready to go have VBS or go to someone's house, eat dinner with them. And we did all kinds of things. We'd just hang out. We had some sick freestyles. Someone would drop a beat. Someone would spit bars. And really, it was just a great time getting to be with all of us just together. And then my favorite spiritual parts. So many of y'all know me and know that I don't get nervous at all. And just like being there and getting to serve was it was awesome. Like, I get nervous when I go up in front of people and pray, and just right before we had our evening service, Mr. Maxwell goes, and we're going to have an opening prayer by Wade. So I didn't get to get nervous or anything. I just walked up and prayed. And also, I know it's already been said, but just the house being made of concrete, like singing in the house, it was crazy. We went upstairs and we sung Days of Elijah, and just the echo in that room, it was just great. And it was one of my favorite songs that we sung up there, that and Goodness of God. And then also the VBS, getting to be in the high school class, that was fun. That was exciting also. The first day, as Lucas said, no one was really talking. They were all pretty quiet. And then the second day, we introduced the candy if you answered a question. And also we entered, like, them interacting with us. Like, one of the things was free will. So I stood up, and Andrew says, if I told you to jump off a bridge, would you jump off? And I told him no. But really, I probably would. And just them getting to interact with us and ask questions, it really helped them get comfortable with us, and I think it helped out our high school class a lot. And before I go sit down, the scripture that I thought about, like when I found out I had to get stuff prepared, it was Mark 16:15. I know it's already been said, but it really just describes the whole trip really well. And it is, go out into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. And that really just described what we did. We went there, we taught, we helped everyone, and we had a good time when we were doing it. And I just want to thank everyone for that.
One of the reoccurring themes throughout the trip was just how everybody contributed their own part. How, it wasn't all hands, it wasn't all knees, it wasn't all elbows, but everybody gave what they could contribute. So everybody was busy. The men, the women, we don't hear as much about the women, but all those parts were necessary. The trip doesn't happen with all those. And so with that in mind, I want to invite our final speaker, Andrew. He's going to bring his thoughts and he's going to bring us home.
Good morning. So, like everybody else, I'd like to just go ahead and start off by giving a thank you to everybody who made it possible, and especially for y'all's flexibility, because originally I was not on the roster to go to Jamaica. I mean, it happened in about 30 seconds. I walked up, I was about to ask Mr. Burt a question about our VBS here, and then he mentioned something about Jamaica. He goes, you got a passport? And I was like, yeah, but not for Jamaica. And he's like, would you be willing to go? I was like, yeah, if somebody else paid for it. He's like, perfect, I'll go talk to Daryl. And I'm like, walks out, within 30 minutes, I was going to Jamaica. And I cannot tell y'all, that 30 minutes that changed the course of my summer, it completely changed my perspective, and I really appreciate every single one of you for making the contributions that made that possible. So once we got there, I mean, like everyone else said, I mean, it was tough work. And that probably showed on me the most based off of verifiable facts and evidence, hard photos and videos that show me just passing out every single time I sit down. But it was not a vacation. We showed up and there was a list of things that needed to be done. And Mr. Burt led everyone so well. We got there and there were tasks that had to be accomplished. The tree off of Miss Jody's house, getting ready for VBS, sending out flyers to people. I mean, there was a lot that had to be done, and every single person stood up and they did their part. I think one of the things that stuck out to me the most was just the actual going forth and inviting people to church. That's not something that, we do very often here in the States. There aren't a lot of times where we'll actually take physical flyers and walk around different neighborhoods and knock on doors or give things to people and say, hey, come down and check out what we had down at the church. So that was a totally new experience. And it was also really strange because sometimes you're going to find houses through different alleyways. And so we had some of Jody's kids with us who were leading us around. And there was one moment where, me and Wade had to be, big, strong guys, we thought, because, it was just us and Malia, and she's taking us out somewhere. And there was somebody who came out of the house, how to put that, a little less than sober-minded. And he starts yelling at us, and apparently he was joking the whole time. So Malia's over there just absolutely laughing her head off, and Wade and I are standing there we have no idea what's about to happen. But at the end, everybody there wants to talk about Jesus with you. If you mention it to them, even through all that joking, he was still willing to talk about Jesus. And then they take the flyer, and one of the ladies who was there standing by actually showed up and got to talk with me and Miss Crystal for a little bit. And so the environment there is never a, get away from me, don't hand me that flyer. It's always, okay, let's talk about that for a minute. And it's a very different environment and really teaches you a lot. And it's the fact that you can go somewhere completely to a different area of the world. And like Mr. Darrell said in his Lord's Supper talk a couple of weeks ago, you can have absolutely nothing in common except for the gospel. The same gospel that both of you follow. You can have absolutely nothing else in common, but you go to a different part of the world and you have brothers and you have sisters everywhere. And so that was really powerful for me. Thank you, Red. I think the most important spiritual takeaway that I found from the trip was just the amount of joy that there was in every single Christian there. Every single Christian, they look at you, they smile, they're excited for you to be there, and no matter what their circumstances are in life, they're just so happy that they were able to make it to church that day. If you will, the passage that I wanted to turn to is James 1. James 1, if y'all will turn there with me. And then verses 2 through 4, where James writes, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." That verse really made an impact on me that week. Because you show up and there's someone there who has a tree that fell on their house. You go into the bathroom and, like Mr. Burt said, there's just a new skylight there. There's so much that's happening to these people. And the tree falling on their house was just the first, just glaring example of it. But we show up, everybody's smiling. Everyone's so happy that we get to be there and that we're there. They're not talking about their house, they're talking about VBS. They're so excited for VBS, and if we can get the tree out their house, and that's just a great bonus for them. And that doesn't come from just one day of choosing Christ. I mean, you see, whenever you go over there, the Christians in that church and Mr. Maxwell and everyone who shows up, it's day after day practicing this counting everything joy. Because, if a tree fell on my house, my reaction probably wouldn't be that way. And it's just this constant day after day practice of following Christ and choosing to serve Him every single day. And so that really made a big impact on me. And then we got to do the VBS class, and like Wade and Lucas already said, the first day, that was probably my fault. I had no clue what I was doing. Mr. Burt was like, "Hey, you want to take the high school class?" And I was like, "All right." I was like, "Okay, we can do that." First day, the picture, it shows me staring at the camera. That was probably a cry for help. I had no clue what I was doing that first day. And I was like, nobody really wanted to raise their hand or answer. There was just this kind of timid air. They were kind of trying to figure out my style of teaching. I didn't really know what they wanted. But, thank goodness for having people who know what they're talking about. Because I got to get out that day and I got to talk to Mr. Burt and Miss Crystal. I was like, I don't think class went so well today. I was like, I think I did, an hour straight of talking, and maybe one or two kids answered a question. They're like, "All right, get candy. And so changed everything. And then I thought back, they said, do some object lessons. Do some object lessons that really bring it out, where you get to actually interact with these people. Make sure that you make those connections. And so the next day we had a bag of snow mints, and then we had a couple of object lessons in hand, and it went from being nobody talked to we had people fighting over candy and people fighting to be involved in the object lessons. And the next couple of days just completely changed. And so thank goodness for the leadership that we had there that was able to, help take those different problems and help us work around them and find ways to really interact with these people and get the message of God across to some of these people who really, haven't interacted with it that much. And so it was just an absolutely beautiful experience. And so I thank you guys for everything that y'all have done. And so I think what I'd like to leave us with is just to tie it all together. I mean, it didn't matter what part of the world Paul went to. It doesn't matter what part of the world we go to. And Mr. Justin said it before his song, the same gospel that, Maddox followed on Friday, the same gospel that they followed back then, is the same gospel that's here in Middleburg, same gospel there in Jamaica, and it interacts and it influences everyone in the exact same way. And if we have nothing else that ties us together in life, we have that. And so being able to go over there and seeing the joy that they had for Christ, even in the midst of all these different trying circumstances, the hurricane, the power outages, the joy that they had for Christ was just overwhelming. And so maybe there's some of you here today who are still struggling to find joy in Christ. And maybe that's the case for some of us, but no matter what, if we make that daily effort to choose Christ and to find joy in Him, we will find joy. The Bible tells us over and over again that if we put our trust in Christ and